Aloha mai kako. One of the great things about our city is that we are always seeking new ways to leave the world a little bit better than we found it. And that includes internal processes here at the city. I'm Ernie Martin, Chair of the Honolulu City Council. This video on basic legislative drafting serves to increase communication and education regarding resources for city legislative drafters. At the City Council, we have an impressive amount of legislation that we research, write, and review every day. Thus, as we move forward in a digital world, it is in the spirit of collaboration and true aloha that this brief video for legislative drafters will help to, in the end, give the public our very best. In closing, I want to thank our Office of Council Services for their leadership on this issue, and I wish all of you legislative drafters the best of luck in continuing to draft necessary legislation to move our county forward. Aloha.
Welcome to our basic presentation on legislative drafting. This video series on drafting is for those who have little or no experience in drafting bills or resolutions for consideration by the Honolulu City Council. At the end of this training, you should have a basic working knowledge about legislative formats and required language so that you can begin drafting a bill or resolution. Let's dive in with Part 1, Getting Started. You're probably watching this video because you already have an idea for a piece of legislation. So where do you start? How do you begin? The good news is that, in general, legislative drafting is a repetitive act. That means a few things. First of all, previous measures have already tried to accomplish what you want to do. So the best way to start a new legislative drafting assignment is to do some research. Your research task is to find a similar measure the City Council previously considered or approved. You can research and locate these documents on the City Clerk's DocuShare database. This is available online at honolulu.gov/statusandtext.html. Once you're at this web page, find the menu located on the left-hand side. Use your mouse to select a document category such as bills, resolutions, or ordinances. Here we've highlighted bills. Then, again using your mouse, select a year to limit your search. Let's click and select 2015. Now you are in the DocuShare database, looking at bills for 2015. Towards the right, you'll notice a search box. Enter the topic related to your idea for legislation, such as glass recycling, for example. Then click on the search button to the right, and relevant documents will be pulled up from the DocuShare database. You can repeat this search process, selecting different years and different document categories. Once you locate a previously introduced measure, similar to the one you're assigned to draft, you can quickly determine whether a bill or resolution is involved and what language is needed. Note that over time, conditions and requirements change, and drafting standards evolve, so it is recommended that you try to locate the most recently approved examples of similar measures. To recap the research stage, remember that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Search through previous measures considered by the Council, and be sure to locate the most recently approved measures similar to your assignment. At this point, we've gone over the first stage, the research and the overall process of drafting legislation. Good research will help make the next stage go smoothly. Now we'll get into the meat of the presentation and discuss the drafting stage.
Legislation is the primary tool used by the city to, among other things, set forth policy, adopt budgets, assign fees, receive gifts, request action and information, confirm appointments, and set forth land use, zoning, and street code regulations. Both legislative and executive branches of government draft legislation. It is unquestionably an art that requires years of practical experience, subject matter knowledge, familiarity with city ordinances and state statutes, as well as an understanding of city processes and procedures. This session is intended to provide quick information and resources about the norms, practices, and changing standards of legislative drafting. Good drafters are attentive to detail, many of which are required by law or by long-standing practice. Conforming to the prescribed formats and language with accuracy is key. In Parts 2 and 3, you will learn the general format for drafting bills using the updated Ramsayer format and resolutions. Let's start with bills. Section 3-202, subsection 1 of the Revised Charter of Honolulu prescribes that all proposed ordinances shall be in the form of a bill. In effect, a bill is a proposed law that becomes an ordinance upon its passage. Generally, 71 bills are annually introduced for the Council's consideration, and approximately 50% of them make it to final approval. Regarding bill drafting, first, determine your goals and check to see if the city has jurisdiction to effectuate those goals, because federal or state law may already govern what you intend to do. However, if in fact the city does have jurisdiction, then you may need a bill to amend the revised ordinances of Honolulu 1990, also known as the ROH. A bill generally has the following components and format: a blank line for the ordinance number assigned by the city clerk once it becomes an ordinance, a bill number also assigned by the clerk, a title expressing the general subject of the bill punctuated with an end period, an enacting clause as required by Revised Charter of Honolulu, Section 3-201, a purpose clause expressing the subject of the bill, a body containing specific amendatory language explaining which section of the ROH is to be changed and how the changes will be made in the section itself in Ramsayer format, a Ramsayer clause, an effective date, and lines for the date of the bill's introduction and signatures for the mayor, the bill's introducers, and Corporation Council. Historically, new language being added to the ROH in a bill is underscored, while language to be deleted is bracketed. A key change beginning on January 1, 2017 will require deleted language to be bracketed and stricken. An example of this format is as follows. Please note that if strike-through is included, the Ramsaying clause should be amended accordingly to reflect the addition of strike-through for the deleted language. The appropriate language for the Ramsaying clause can be found in the 2017 Quick Legislative Drafting Guide. Many jurisdictions have also begun changing their use of shall to be grammatically correct. Shall generally is used only when a person or entity has a duty to do something. In all other cases, must, will, or are should be used. These are examples of incorrect use of shall. In legislative drafting, the examples should be drafted as follows. Please refer to the 2017 Quick Legislative Drafting Guide for a more detailed explanation on the use of shall. Recodification, which will be explained later, will address the use of shall throughout most, but not all, of the ROH. Now that you have a better understanding of bill components and the new developments for drafting bills, here are some helpful hints. The most recent bill template is available on the city's FYI Forms link, as the font of the letterhead has recently been changed. Search in DocuShare for measures that have tried to accomplish something similar to what you are trying to do. Do not reinvent the wheel. If amending an existing ROH section, check the table of newly enacted ordinances to ensure that the ROH section you are amending in the bill is the most recent version of the section. Please note that the published version of the ROH is the official version, as well as the newly enacted ordinances listed in the table that have not yet been incorporated into the published version. A bill should only encompass one subject. Its purpose should be broad and should never be just to amend the ROH. All bill amendments should be in Ramsayer format. As a general rule, bracketing and strike-through before underscoring. Note that if a new chapter or article is being added by a bill, underscoring for the chapter or article is not necessary. Also, many parts of the ROH are cross-referenced. For example, if we repeal the section that establishes taxicab driver certificates, everywhere else taxicab driver certificates are mentioned in the ROH would need to be amended to remove the reference. Definitions should also be consistent throughout the ROH, unless specific context requires otherwise. ROH Chapter 1 contains defined terms that apply to the entire ROH. We are happy to help review your department's routinely used bill forms or templates. Part 3 of the presentation will give you an overview of drafting resolutions. Resolutions generally express a particular position of the Council, do not have the force or effect of law, and do not contain any ramsiring unless the resolution proposes a charter amendment. Annually, roughly 330 resolutions are introduced, and around 90% are adopted. Before drafting your resolution, first decide on the specific position or action that you want the Council to take and the rationale. Second, research federal, state, or county laws that authorize the resolution, including any pending state, city, or federal legislation that may affect your proposal. Third, gather and attach exhibits and any necessary supporting documents. For example, if the resolution proposes Council adoption of an intergovernmental agreement, the agreement should be appropriately attached, labeled, and referenced. Finally, determine all the appropriate parties you want the resolution sent to. Generally, if it involves the administration, the resolution would need to go to the mayor or managing director and the director of the department. Resolutions generally contain the following: a resolution number assigned by the city clerk and a title explaining its scope, punctuated by an end period. Whereas clauses that give background information on the reason for the resolution. Be it resolved clauses, which are required by Revised Charter of Honolulu, Section 3-201, that specifies what the resolution is purporting to do. A be it finally resolved clause, which lists who the resolution should be transmitted to, lines for signatures of the introducers, and the date of introduction, similar to bills. And if there is an exhibit, it should be attached and referenced accordingly. Helpful hints for drafting resolutions include researching for similar resolutions previously introduced, incorporating references to state or city laws in whereas clauses that authorize or allow for the action prescribed in the resolution, reviewing the Council's policy resolutions found at this link for background information on current and future programs and activities, and referencing any attached exhibits. If the resolution is nominating a person to a board or commission established by the Revised Charter or ROH, 3 items should be submitted to the Council: a completed Council nomination form, the nominee's resume, and the nominee's voter registration. Please note, these 3 items are not exhibit attachments to the resolution. Like bills, you should use the most recent resolution template available on the city's FYI Forms link. Also, the 2017 Quick Legislative Drafting Guide contains templates for drafting specific types of resolutions. We are happy to help review your department's routinely used resolution forms, or templates. In general, a good drafter will know the following: the Ramsayer format, correct document structure, and the required language for bills and resolutions. Good drafters are attentive to the details, many of which are required by law, by long-standing practice, and updates. Conforming to the prescribed format and language with accuracy is key. The last completed publication of the ROH was done in 1990, 26 years ago. Commencing January 2017, the Office of Counsel Services will begin the process of again recodifying the entire ROH. An effort of this magnitude is an important task that will require input from all legislative and executive agencies. Recodification is a process that will update and reorganize existing provisions. Presently, it includes only technical, non-substantive changes. Updates of this process will be available on the following link. Let's take a quiz. Beginning in January of 2017, language to be deleted in a bill should be bracketed and A, underscored, B, bolded, or C, stricken. Bill and resolution templates and the Council's nomination form can be found here. A, Civil Beat, B, City FYI Forms link, or C, Gmail. Previously introduced and adopted bills and resolutions can be found on A, the City Clerk's DocuShare database, B, Facebook, or C, LinkedIn. Beginning January 2017, OCS will commence blank to update existing provisions of the ROH. A, cleaning, B, recodification, or C, networking. Executive agencies needing additional information on drafting legislation may consult with any of the following resources.
Legislative drafting is an important part of effective government. To receive a 2017 Quick Legislative Guide, please contact ocs@honolulu.gov. On behalf of the Honolulu City Council, I'm Councilmember Joey Manahan, and we thank you for watching.
Mahalo. We look forward to working with each agency in the recodification process and hope that this session helps better prepare you with drafting legislation. The 2017 Quick Legislative Drafting Guide contains additional details with regard to current drafting conventions.